Hey there, dwburman here with hopefully a quick video. This week I'm showing you how to do something that you would normally do in post, like in After Effects, but I can think of a few situations where you might want to do this within the LightWave application itself. One of those being you just want to set up a scene and hand it off to a client so they can changes and render it out and, you know, change logos or whatever. The other one would be if you just don't want to go through the extra step of the post-processing. And I guess the third reason would be if you just don't have a After Effects or something like that. So I'm going to show you how to do this thick outline around these objects using a free plugin from Dennis Spontanier. In this case, we'll be using the DP filter pluggers. Yeah, and please note there's a donate button, so donate and make him happy, I guess. So yeah, here's our final render. What this scene consists of at this point is a few objects and a background, which is a backdrop that I made in textured environment. So that's what's going on with the scene. That looks pretty cool like that, I think, but we'll add the border on it anyway. So let's switch out of VPR because I'm going to be using Viper, which isn't always compatible. First thing I want to do is I want to open up the panel I just closed, and I'll add a node image filter and double click it, and here's what the node image filter looks like. And this is the DP filter, one of the things from DP filter, I think. If not, then it's just in LightWave and we need to use the DP filter things from over here. Either way, if you don't have the node image filter in here, you need to add it with the DP filter kit or DP filter plugin, but yeah, you need that anyways for this stuff. So yeah, let's go to the DP filter buffers, and I'm going to plug in the render buffer. And we have a whole bunch of stuff here, and really all I'm concerned with today at this moment is the color and the alpha output. Oh, and if I double click on this image filter, you can see this is where we can turn the VPR or the Viper on. And I'm just going to do an F9 render so we get our image into the buffer. So I'll close that. So there's our render, and in VPR or in Viper. That's not a little confusing at all. Okay, so what happens if I plug the alpha out into the color? Well, there we go. We can see there is our alpha channel. What I want to do with the alpha channel is I want to expand it a bit, and then we'll go from there. So to expand it, I'm going to use a couple of nodes. One is going to be down here in the DP filter tools. I'm going to, nope, not there, effects or filters, one of them. Filters, there we go. I'm going to do fast blur, and I'm going to plug the alpha into the color input of the fast blur, and there we go. You can see already our edge is a little softer. I'm going to crank this up to 200 on the X amount and the Y amount. And you can see it's a fuzzy edge now. I want to tighten this edge up again. Essentially what I'm doing is kind of like the simple matte choker in After Effects, but a little more manual, I guess. To do that, I'm going to need to add a gradient. So I'll just add a regular gradient node, and I'll plug the output of the fast blur into the input of the gradient, and everything's going to go black. Let's add, in our gradient settings, let's change this top one to white. I'll probably have to change this later. And this bottom one I'll make black. I just added a second one. And there we go. We have our expanded outline. So you want the black on the bottom and the white on the top, in this case, depending on how you do it. You can tell that by just changing the position of the key, we can tighten up this this edge. We can invert it with this as well. So this is basically acting on the blurred version of the alpha channel to give us an expanded edge. So, like I say, it depends. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll get into it. If you go all the way to the edge, you might get a soft look that you like. It just kind of fades off into the edge. But, I kind of want a harder edge on this, so I will bring this top key down. Okay. And also we can expand the edge by expanding the amount of blur. And these don't have to match. You can make a blur that is wider than it is tall. Don't know exactly why you'd want to do that, but you can. So there we have it. If you just wanted to do black over our image, we could do that with a multiply node, a vector multiply. So we'll just plug the color out into A, and we'll plug the output of the alpha stuff that we just did into B, and plug the result into color, and there we have our black blob over top of our image. Now, in order to get our image back on top of that, we'll use a mixer node. So we'll just come down here. This is one of the standard nodes in LightWave under Tools. Mixer. So let's plug the we'll plug the output of the multiply into the background color, and we'll plug the color into the color of the image filter node, and there we go. It's completely white or gray, and that's because the foreground color is completely white or gray. So let's come back here to our original bit here. We'll plug the color from that into the foreground, and now we'll have our original without any outline or any black blob. So what we want to do is we want to actually use the output of this. No, I want to use the alpha channel from here and plug it into the opacity of the mixer node. And this alpha channel, the original alpha channel, now controls the opacity of the mixer node. And there you go. There is our black background. If you want something other than a black background, we can use a mixer node here in place of the multiply. So let me copy this mixer node and paste, and we'll just get rid of all this stuff here. Okay, so let's plug the color into the background channel, and we'll plug the color output of the mixer node into the background color of the second mixer node, and there we have a white background. Let's take the color out of this gradient, remember our expanded alpha channel, and we'll plug that into opacity, and there we should have something. But it's kind of the exact opposite of what we want. So what do we do when we have something exact opposite of what we want? We want to invert it. So let's type in invert, and we go to get an invert node. The other option would be to just flip the colors in the gradient using the invert values, but if you want to use it for something else later, you might just want to drop an invert node in here. And there we go. We have a white outline around our stuff. We can, of course, change this to any color we want, and in this case, blue, or black rather. And if you really wanted to play, you could plug anything you want into the FG color here, and that will color this border any color you want. You could even put images in there, or image sequences in there. So if you want to animate it, there is a bit of an issue with this method, which if I hit F9, you'll be able to see. If I zoom in particular, you can see that you can see some of the background through here. Now this is because the original alpha channel is blended with the original image, and this anti-aliasing is showing us some of the background. So there are possible ways around that is to maybe use the same technique we used here with the fast blur and the gradient and just kind of tighten it up so the original alpha channel is a little tighter. You could possibly try rendering without anti-aliasing and just rendering 2 or 3 times the regular size and then scaling it down to smooth out the aliasing. And yeah, that's kind of how I would go about that. If your background's dark enough, you probably won't notice that little bleed through anyway. One problem that you might encounter is if your objects overlap any, like say this. Oops, I don't want to. If I render this, you'll notice that I'm not getting an outline on this boulder here, this front asteroid. And there is a way around that, but that's beyond the scope of this video. It's essentially isolating just this one boulder and doing the same thing we did with the general image, where we're making a wider alpha and layering it over top of itself, and then yeah, that whole process again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, this isn't necessarily a technique you'll always use in this situation. You might just find it easier to do in post. And I'll also show you why you wouldn't want to use just silhouette edges on this. You might want to, but you notice with the silhouette edges on, you actually get these little bits of outline in front of the edge of the boulder. So it's where anything where the surface incidence bends away, and I'm bored with explaining this. So yeah, this will work in some cases, but not always. So yeah, again, visit Dennis's site and grab his great plugins and donate if you like using them. Liberty 3D has some of my tutorials for sale, as well as tutorials from some other artists that are, you know, good stuff there. Subscribe to this YouTube channel for more tips and tricks, and I will see you all later. Theoretically, you know, I won't actually see you, most of you, but you have a great weekend.